Good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And the story I'm going to relate to you now just leaves me with one question. I wonder what Alan Paton would say. What would he call his book about what is going on in South Africa? MEC for Safety and Security, J.P. Smith, has called on the city's Special Investigation Unit to urgently engage with the police's anti-gang unit following a rise in gang violence in which 14 people were killed in 24 hours. The murders of mostly alleged teenage gangsters were reported in KTC in Gugulethu, Blikkiesdorp and Athlone on Thursday night and early Friday. Lumkile Msila, a member of the SA National Civil Organisation, said, "We have set up meetings with the South African Police Service, Neighbourhood Watch and street committees for next week to figure out how we can put an end to this bloodbath." Now, you've got to understand that this bloodbath is not actually happening in the city centre, it's happening in the townships around Cape Town. But there is increasing crime in the city of Cape Town itself, and it's having a huge impact on tourism. You had that UFC fighter who was held up with a knife when he was walking around at night in the centre of Cape Town. That only happened a couple of weeks ago. And the word is getting out that South Africa is not a safe place to be, regardless of whether you go to Cape Town, the Kruger National Park, the Drakensberg, or even more dangerous places like Johannesburg. You know, it's becoming very, very critical because the tourism industry is just dying in South Africa right now. And that's going to have a huge impact on GDP, believe me. Lumkile Msila, a member of the South African National Civic Organisation, said, "We have set up meetings with the South African Police Service, Neighbourhood Watch and street committees for next week to figure out how we can put an end to this bloodbath. We are forced to take a stand on the matter as some of the boys from the KTC area allegedly went into Gugulethu and smashed windows of certain homes of their rivals. We met with their fathers at the police station and they vowed to do something about the problem if we don't," Msila said. Smith said he was particularly concerned about Delft. About 2 years ago, Delft had seen a positive change and a drop in gang violence following the insertion of neighbourhood safety watch teams. Now the area is rated 4th from the number 10 for murders. What is needed now is an effective investigation which will lead to arrests and convictions. We need to know what the anti-gang unit is doing about these killings. KTC residents said NY78, which separates Barcelona from KTC, is used as a boundary by the rival groups. Boys from this side cannot cross over the street into Gugulethu, and they can't cross over to this side without being attacked. It is a huge problem. 3 of the dead boys are alleged to have been part of the Villanova gang in KTC and had been attacked by an unknown group from the Barcelona informal settlement. According to their mothers, the boys had not been part of the gangs for long and had been forced to join because of the area they lived in. And that's what happens. These kids are actually forced to join these gangs. And it's a life of crime. It is absolutely devastatingly sad what's going on. Harrietta Manyatela, 61, said her son Luvuyo Manyatela, 17, who had been gutted at the NY5 cemetery in Gugulethu, had supper with his family about 2 hours before he died. Luvuyo's 14-year-old niece, Nosifu, said the teen had been drenched in blood from the chest down. She recognized him by the clothes he was wearing. "I saw him lying there with his black sneakers and a green jacket, but the police arrived just as I was about to hold him. I went around to have a clear look at his face, and there he was, just lying there in a pool of his own blood." Manyatela suffers from various illnesses and said she depends heavily on her son, Luvuyo, who was the youngest of her 4 children. "I had high hopes for him. He wanted to become a pilot and buy us a fancy house and have many cars when he finished school," she said. Luvuyo's friend and schoolmate, Kwanele Njonto, 17, died on the way to hospital. His mother, Nkadiswe Nchoncho, said she had not been able to see him since she heard of his death. We saw a group of people running up towards NY78. Shortly after, I was told to hurry as he had been injured. When we got there, the boys were fighting and even stoning cars passing by. It was a mess. I was then told he'd been taken to the day hospital, but when I got there, he was already gone. A third boy, Quanelli Jacobs, also died at the cemetery. His mother, Nolotando Jacobs, said she suffered from depression and did not know how she would cope with her son's death. He was my right-hand man. He never wanted to see me hurt or upset. I am still in shock, and I don't know what I will do now that he is gone, she said. Police spokesman Lieutenant Colonel André Trott confirmed the incident but said no arrests had been made. No arrests have been made. The South African police service is so stretched now in South Africa. As we know, the not so reliable police don't even come out when they're called. They don't bother. They don't open a ticket. They don't care. While there's some really dedicated and good, hard-working police who are just trying to take on the load. It is just... Look, South Africa is not a safe place to travel to. And those who live in South Africa basically understand the rules of the road. They understand where to go and where not to go, how to stay out of trouble. But unfortunately now what's happening is because of the increasing poverty, starvation and desperation of these gangs, they're now starting to move out of their comfort zone into white suburbs, and that's where these home invasions are happening. And, it's becoming critical. And while this is all going on, Hippo Eyes is just pretending it's all hanky-dory. Everything's fine in South Africa. What a POS. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates, and have a great evening.